Hello, party people. It's your boy Dre. Oh, you knew that already, didn't ya? Well, goddamn. I don't know why my first instinct is always say, "Okay, good night, everybody." That's like my go-to joke. I have to resist the urge. Well, I guess I already said it, but guys, Steve, Kevin, what the fuck?
It's crazy out there, but that's no excuse to forget Kevin's birthday.
Is that your response to what the fuck?
Yeah,
I don't know where to take that.
That's okay. We'll forget this ever happened. Steve, maybe you can talk about something else. Do you play video games by any chance? I don't know if you like.
Oh, occasionally.
Okay, you want to? I mean, what you been doing lately?
Well, one of us, I figured, should have looked into that Nintendo Switch Sports trial kajigger that was around last weekend. And since no one else was like, you were all kind of, Horizon or whatever else, I'm like, well, it's up to me. And then I detach it.
My only window was 3 a.m. on a Saturday, which I am awake for, mind you, but I don't know. That was high Horizon time.
The windows are were very unkind for this.
I just frankly didn't want to play it.
But anyway,
I don't blame you.
For the sake of journalistic integrity and being a raconteur on the podcast, I endured one of the trial sessions, and I got to play the 3 games that were on offer. So, what do we want to hear? The shittiest game or the best one first?
I want to hear the shittiest.
Oh, I definitely want to hear the shittiest.
Tennis. Everyone's favorite game or second favorite game on Wii Sports was easily the worst game on offer here. You get it's pretty much the way the old one was set up, where you have a U and then a ghost U. Y'all ever see that episode of The Simpsons where Bart sells his soul and he has that dream where he's running around with other soul? It's pretty much like that. You have a ghost version of yourself that you run around trying to play tennis with. But this ghost version of yourself kind of plays tennis however they want. I'm sure there's a way to actually make the ball hit the way you wanna, but my wrist is too dumb to do these things, so I keep hitting it out or on the net or into the net or.
So is this wanting to take tennis and turn it into 1-for-1 motion as opposed to Wii Sports, where you just gotta swing of some sort and it just does the generic overhand?
I think there's supposed to be some sort of 1-to-1 going on, but when you actually swing, there's still a generic swing motion going on. It's very confusing to actually play. I'm sure other people have cracked it already, but I'm not.
Let me put it this way. If you do if you take your hand, you do an overhead swing, will your character do an overhead swing?
No.
Or will it just do it when it feels like it?
When it feels like it.
That seems like a problem.
I think so too. And since you're supposed to control both of them, there's times at the same time, you have a lot of the time where Ghost U is sometimes he swings back, sometimes he dives on the other all the way to the back of the court where regular U is standing. And
hold on, I think I'm not understanding something. Are you saying you're playing doubles tennis, but your partner is a clone of you?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. Actually, it doesn't, but you know what I mean.
I have videos and things on my Twitter if anyone wants to actually try and see this disaster. But yeah, tennis, not good. Maybe I'm sure other people have cracked it and say, "Oh no, this is wonderful," but it's not. But everyone's real favorite game, bowling. I mean, it's fine. I think it's everyone bowls at once. There's 10 of you or so that. You're all bowling, and then you all compare notes, and then you bowl some more, and there's you eliminate it every so often based on points. I mean, it's fine. I mean,
I know the game is rated E for everyone, but is there a beer frame at least, or is there a?
Still no beer frame.
Ah, man.
And I don't know if this is just cut out from online play, but you can't throw the ball backwards and make everyone jump and twirl and tour. Remember that? If you all remember that from Wii Sports?
Barely. It's been so long. It's been a very long time.
I mean, I guess it's fine. Again, I already bowl in real life with a very weird curve, so it was a lot of adjusting to try and knock pins down correctly. I mean, I'm sure it's fine. It felt more complex than the bowling game that was in Clubhouse games, but
for old time's sake, did they have the graphic of the guy fucking up the entire room with the Wii, like the caution symbol? You guys know what I'm talking about? Like, don't get too close to objects, and this guy like just twirling around, like knocking over shit. This single frame, it's like,
well, they're holding Joy-Cons now, but yes,
okay, because that feels like part of the experience. I couldn't tell you why.
And it really comes into play when you're playing, when it comes to Shambara, which, everyone, they needed to be fancy and just give a fancy name to sword fighting. That's what it was. This was the breakthrough thing for me. There's 3 kinds of sword for you to try, although dual wielding although as fun as that sounds, just trying to work with 2 Joy-Con at once doesn't feel as right as it just should. Like, you can only block with one, and it's not clear which one you're actually blocking with. But there's like there's the regular, the base sword and the charge sword, which lets you do a big swing once you hit the other guy enough times, and it's that felt more precise than anything else I was doing. I don't think I'd be buying the whole package just for this, but I think this will be popular online once it finally drops.
Do we know what the MSRP is on this? Is this like a $60 game? Have they said yet?
I think it's $50 for the retail version with the leg strap and $40 just for a download.
That's not bad. I still don't think I'm interested, but like, that's not terrible.
It seems like you guys are expecting this is actually going to sell well, though, hey?
Yeah, I actually think this is going to do okay. Probably not like gangbusters out the gate, but like over the course of a year and a half, if it sells like 7 to 10 million copies or something, kind of in that like Mario Maker 2 range. That's kind of what I'm expecting, honestly. I really do think this is going to do well.
If I had to bet, I think this is going to sell worse than Ring Fit Adventure.
Ring Fit Adventure did well, though.
It did pretty well, but I guess before either of those come out and they said, okay, Nintendo Switch Sports or this game with the giant squishy ring that you stick the Joy-Cons in, what would you expect to sell more of? Switch Sports is the
I feel like though Ring Fit took off kind of during the Rona as well, right? So it's like it's part of its.
Well, that ended up being very scalpery before Rona happened. Like they only made however much. They didn't expect to move them, and then if you wanted one, you couldn't get one for a long time. And they were kind of just shrugging their shoulders. Maybe we don't want to really make more of these. And then Rona happened, and everyone was like, okay, maybe we make more Ring Fits. And then they did.
Kevin, how about this? What about like a modest, quote unquote, by Nintendo standards, like a few million copies, like a Fire Emblem Warriors or an ARMS? You don't even see that.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I don't think it's going to sell horribly. I just don't think it's going to set the world on fire like, I'm sure Nintendo wants it to. I don't feel we're in the right time frame to like capitalize on either like a current or recent excitement for the sports series, and I don't think it's been around long enough that people are feeling nostalgic for it either.
I don't know. I guess we'll see. I don't know. I'm much more bullish on this.
It doesn't matter because real Nintendo fans know that Excite Truck was the most legitimate launch title anyways.
Oh my god, oh my lord. There is bile in my throat right now. Disgusting that you would even say such a thing on these airwaves. Just absolutely disgusting.
Speaking of bile in my throat, I was, still being addicted to Pokemon Legends Arceus, and somewhere in between trying to, deal with the outbreaks and, just throwing heavy balls at Pseudo-Wudo just for the shits and giggles of it. I'm like, oh shit, I'm on a podcast. I should probably play something else. So then I have a little system where I either scroll to the front of my downloads or to the back of my downloads, and that's what I'll play for a bit. And since the front of my downloads had the nonsense I played last show, we went to the back, and it had Mega Man X Legacy Collection 2, which meant no time left to put this off. I better start playing Mega Man X5 again.
I'm sorry.
I already had a time. I played it on the GameCube collection long ago, and I don't remember it being that bad. I played as X back then, and I played the whole thing as Zero this time. This was probably a mistake in itself, but I don't know how you follow Mega Man X4, which is easily one of the best games in all of Mega Man with this nonsense. But I don't know. They try building tension with having a space station that's going to crash into the Earth, and that doesn't really pay off in any meaningful way.
Why doesn't it pay off, Steve? Tell the people why it doesn't pay off.
Which reason do you want me to get into? The part where I can just continue, the part where I can just recontinue the levels as much as I want, and the timer doesn't go down, or even if the thing crashes into the Earth, it doesn't change any of the gameplay at all. Just a few lines of dialogue. Which reason do you want me to delve into with why the space station doesn't fucking matter in Mega Man X5?
I think you got it covered. I think you covered all the bases.
Speaking of things that don't matter, while they were phoning all this shit in, they borrowed a lot of things from other Mega Man games, like especially when you get to Sigma's trippy Technicolor Magic Fortress, where we don't need. Oh shit, we forgot to draw backgrounds. Let's just have seizure-inducing vectors there instead. Where we'll throw in some Brightman shit over here. We'll throw in the Flashman losers over here, and we'll throw in another Devil guy over there. And everyone remembers that one cool boss from Mega Man X1, where the things pop out of the wall and start trying to kill you. And we'll even invoke the music from that. And that shit might have been fun if any of this was any fun to play, but everything's in such a tiny arena that we all know that the real fun of Mega Man X was how acrobatic everything is. So, let's you try doing a backflip in a broom closet and seeing how much fun you have after that.
I mean, I would like to call it the Cyber Fortress. Does this game have Cyber Peacock, or is that 6 that has Cyber Peacock?
4.
Anyway, I would love to call it the Cyber Fortress, but it doesn't even deserve that. Like you said, it's just a prismatic puke. It's just disgusting to look at.
And then the story. I know story is like, just who cares about story in a Mega Man game? But look, I'm into hokey sci-fi shit where you have this overlying theme of a robot trying to discover what it is to be alive. That's sort of encroaching the entire series, the prior one and this one, if you're really reading into it, and that's fun. And then they just kind of ruin it here when you're in Sigma's Technicolor Rainbow Prism Fortress level 3, and Mega Man shows up with 2 other dudes, and he's like, "Zero, you're too far in the fortress. We're gonna have to fight now." Like, you've been teasing this shit since 2. Why? And this is all we're gonna do with that? I don't remember it being much better in the Mega Man campaign, but here this was just bad.
Have you played Mega Man X6 at all? Like, at all?
I have, and then I turned it off because I was very mad at it. I'm going to eventually again.
First of all, cheat. Just save yourself the heartache from the beginning. Just cheat. In-game push button codes and the menu thing. Cheat. Secondly, hey, spoiler alert, but like Zero dies at the end of X5, and then like, well, here he is. Oh, there's another X game. Like, it really takes the sting out of it now.
And then they try to do the other thing where Sigma's like, "I met an interesting old man. Maybe you know him." And then we never. Well, okay, we all know it's him because we all know it's Wily because they've been teasing that shit since one of the arcade games, but let's never address that again either. So
no.
We have a whole Zero series. I'm sure it doesn't get addressed there.
No.
I still have 2 more Zero games to play. I'm sure we never bring up Wily again.
Oh, you don't. But at least that those 4 games have a conclusion. I'll tell you that much. You're going to actually get it from that versus whatever they thought they were doing here. Inafune planned X5 as the last one. He planned that, right? Then less than a year later, right? So
yeah, I mean, I get that you need to sell games, but Zero dying at the end of 5 was not the big problem I had with 5. I mean, I'm sure if this was the first Mega Man game I ever played, okay, but this would have been fine. But there's been years of other Mega Man games that came before this, and that's what the hell were you guys doing in the year 2000?
I mean, I played it on PS1, and I thought, like you said at the time, I thought it was like thoroughly mediocre. But then when I played it on this collection, as you did, I was like, this is way worse than I thought. I never liked it in the first place, but it even aged much more poorly than I ever thought it would. Because, you always have the thing in the back of your mind, maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was. Actually, it's way worse.
So that's been my week. Maybe I'll play something good for the next show. There's always that hope. What's someone else been up to?
I'll tell you what, I did play one good thing, and so has Kevin, but I also have been I played one really bad thing. So, as we talked about, I don't know if it was the last episode or the episode before, Platinum Games is doing this new live service thing. We were talking about, their plans for the future, whatever. So, and I mentioned in that saying like Babylon's Fall is like coming out real soon. Maybe that'll tell us something about, what's going to be happening here. This game sucks. There was a demo that went up on Friday. Me and friend of the show Vin tried it together because it's an online multiplayer live service thing. Oh boy, it's bad. It's really bad. So like, I don't know how else to say this. These are some of the worst graphics I've seen on like a modern console in a very long time. These character models are like so polygonal. They're like PS3 360 type of polygonal, almost sometimes PS2 type of polygonal. I'm not joking. I know that's like a go-to thing. Oh, this has N64 textures. I'm serious. The geometry here is terrible. Like it was like, it almost, if I didn't know any better, I would say it's like a mobile game that they ported to like PS5 or something. It was incredibly bad. And then it does this thing because it's sort of like, I almost said mid-century, sort of like medieval times, if you will, vaguely. They try to do this painterly sort of like painted canvas look on it. And like with the textures, and there's like an effect over the screen. Almost think of like, Okami has like that, like what, that brush painting sort of thing going on. This was such a terrible overlaid effect. It would almost make you think your TV is broken. If you didn't know any better, you'd be like, holy shit, my thing. Remember how like an old plasma TV from the 2000s would wig out and have like trails and stuff? That's what it looks like. It would make you think your 2008 plasma TV is broken. And this game looks like it's from 2008 because it looks like an Xbox Live Arcade title that's not, Pac-Man or something. Honestly, guys, this is shocking. Like, yeah. I never thought this game was going to be great, especially since they weren't like promoting it that much. Square hadn't put a whole lot of muscle into it from Platinum Games. They have a working relationship, obviously, but they hadn't been showing this off, and it's for a reason. It's bad.
This is wild because I sure didn't have either of you talking about how shitty a Platinum Games game looks on my bingo card for 2022.
Yeah. It's incredible. Like
at this pace, I'm gonna have to hang up a sconce for Astral Chain 2.
I mean, also like, look, and if it played okay, that I might be able to save it. It's so lock, stock, and barrel. You have your weak attack, you have your strong attack. There's no nuance or flow or anything to it like a Platinum Games game has. Right? It doesn't have any of that shit. It feels like, again, if I didn't know this wasn't like a mobile game port, I would have thought it would be because it's so basic. Guys, I just don't know. Like, I mean, everyone shut on Godfall like a year and a half ago. That game is a goddamn like masterpiece compared to this. You know what I mean? And I like Godfall. Like, you know, people could say what they want, but like, it seems like it's going for that type of thing, but just, I don't know. The matchmaking also was like really confusing and bad. It took forever for me and Vin to figure out how to get in a party, which is like not good for this kind of game, right? And it didn't ever feel like we were in a party because you kind of matchmake. It's sort of like, you know, you name it, Monster Hunter, Dragon Mark for Death, anything you played of this type, it's like, you know, start the mission and everyone's playing, right? And then like during the missions, like he got locked out of a room that I went into. I got into like an enemy encounter somehow. It's not like I was walking way ahead of him or something, but he couldn't get in the room anymore. So I was in there fighting guys by myself. And I was just like, fuck this. I turned it off. I couldn't take it anymore. It was so sloppy. I don't know, guys. If this is the future of Platinum Games, Jesus Christ.
Some say Vin is still wandering around the room, lost, waiting for Andre to bail him out.
Yep.
Did you pay much attention to like other people's reception online? I'm just curious if there was universal backlash, if there's any chance that they, you know, say, okay, we're obviously nobody likes this. We're going to push this back to, you know, middle or late 2022.
Okay, well, two things. One, yes, I did see this. We looked on Twitter after we were done playing. We deleted it off our hard drives. Like, I was done. I didn't even close the game. I just exited out of the game to menu and just deleted the game. I didn't even like stop playing. That's how I quit playing the game.
You borrowed a power sander.
Yes, but no. We looked on Twitter afterwards, and everyone said the same shit we did. It's like, this looks bad. Oh my god, it looks like my TV is broken with these like effects later. Where they said all the same stuff. We were not alone. As for delaying the game, I don't think they're going to do that. It comes out in less than a month. It comes out in a few weeks. I don't think they can. I guess they always can, right? Stranger things have happened. But, I mean, like, Guilty Gear Strive got delayed after, like, a few weeks before launch because the beta, you know, they wanted to clean up the netcode and stuff. I mean, stuff happens, right? But I don't think Square is going to allow that because, 2 words, fiscal year. I think they kind of just have to put this out, personally. So,
you think another dragon's going to come and wipe it clean like Final Fantasy XIV or what?
Man,
and then space dragon came and fixed Babylon's fall.
I wish, man. Look, this couldn't have been the game they wanted to make. There's just no way, right? Something really went wrong here. Where it's like they didn't have the time to devote, they're working on other stuff, they didn't have the staff. I refuse to believe this was intentional. I can't believe it. Not from Platinum Games. Anyway, so I've also been playing I think it was last episode where I talked about playing Breath of Fire, and I beat that. So Breath of Fire 2 is also on Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online, so I just moved along to that. I originally bought this game on Virtual Console, Wii Virtual Console, back in the day, because so many people spoke highly of it. I gave it my 800 Wii points, and all I wanted to do was go back to those people and ask for my 800 Wii points back, because I have no idea why people like this game so much. It's perfectly fucking fine, but like, come on, are you kidding? Anyway, it's almost not really that interesting for me to break down piece by piece, because look, if you played a SNES RPG, you've played this one too, the translation is so bad as to be like very detrimental, and you hear Steve giggling there because he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Gotta equip that shit swid there.
I did a scenario today where I jumped down a toilet, and there was a cave down there, and I had to go get a ring out of the toilet cave. Now look, I'm here for silly shit in an RPG, but everything in this game is like this. It almost feels like the game is just making it up on the fly. Like there's an AI in there, and it's just playing Mad Libs with itself, and it's like, what stupid shit can I do next?
You guys always make these points like it's supposed to deter people from playing the game, and it always sounds excellent.
I can assure you, it is not worth it.
Definitely want to play the Mad Libs Super Nintendo RPG.
See, here's my thing with Breath of Fire 2. I paid my first time I played. I paid my 800 points, and then I paid another $150 to get it on Wii U, and for 10 and for 950 total. And now that it's on my included on the subscription, I don't hate this game. I didn't buy it back in the day. I'm pretty sure I would have enjoyed it, but not as much as other ones. But I don't hate it. Yes, the translation is embarrassing with the fishing rod, but it's.
But, like, don't you think every scenario, every plot is just so fucking dumb? Like, everything is the toilet cave. The whole game is like, it's just...
It gets dumber, and I can't wait to see you get to the other side, because there are things I need to talk to you about.
Oh my god, man. Here's what I don't understand. Here's kind of how I want to say this. Like, this game came out in North America in December 95. You know what we had by December 95? We had Chrono Trigger. We had Final Fantasy VI. If you want to go back a couple years from that, we had Secret of Mana. We had so many great RPGs on SNES. For people to say that this is their favorite game so late in the game, the PlayStation was out by then. I know not everyone had one. I'm just saying, like, for this to come out so late in the SNES's life and, like, people just cape up for this game in a way that I cannot understand. Is it just purely because I had it? So, like, I like it because it's what I had when I was a kid? That can't be it, right?
I gotta say, you're on your own there, because outside of Nintendo Power, no one I knew actually played this game.
No, I didn't know anyone either. I'm just saying in retro, it got recommended to me a bunch. It's the only reason why I bought it on Virtual Console. You know what I mean? Especially since, like I said before, I played the original game on the GBA version. I thought it was like, oh, fucking K, so I wasn't necessarily gung-ho to play the second one, right? But everyone's like, oh, no, it's so much better. It's so... You know what I mean? I was like, okay, I guess... Look at the replies to my tweets sometimes when I see, like, when I started the game, when I showed, like, that initial thing, someone replies, like, this is one of my favorite games of all time, and shit. It's
Are
like,
all of these tweets from @Monotone Gent?
Yeah, maybe. Are these your alts?
I do not have time to even maintain one alt, but that's beside the
point. No, man. I guess all I'm saying is, like, I don't know. It's so strange sometimes how people... It's just not as good. Maybe they just played it back then and it's just not as good as they remember. I don't know. Childhood memories are a bitch sometimes, right? But, like, I don't get it. Yes, I'll see this game through because I'm a masochist. You guys know I'm going to. So, but as for talking about it anymore, unless Steve is hinting at stupider shit happening, unless something really, really brain dead happens, I don't know what could be worse than the toilet cave. So, like, unless something tops that, I mean, I think I'm done talking about it. Maybe. But anyway, so I played actually something good during this last 2 weeks, and so has Kevin, actually. So, Kevin, why don't you take over from here and I'll follow your lead?
Yeah, I've only played half of something good so far. Andre has finished Horizon Forbidden West, but I'm working on it. I'm probably maybe 22 hours, I think, in.
Okay.
I was really anticipating this to begin with because this was the first like big PS5 exclusive that I was really looking forward to since I got the PS5 last year. I think a lot of what I've focused on as I've been playing critically is just how much this game feels like an actual sequel to Zero Dawn versus how much of it is just more Horizon. And I'm curious to hear your take on that as well, because when you tweeted about finishing this, you know, it was very much like it was more of the same at the start, but it wound up getting significantly better, because you were pretty lukewarm on Zero Dawn originally, if I recall.
No, I actually really like Horizon Zero Dawn. The story and stuff I was really into. It's just like the AAA shit, like the here's how you climb on these yellow things, which this game still has. And, like, you know what I mean? That type of shit I really didn't like. But the story and, like, gameplay and, like, kind of stealthing around, I don't really like to do stealth, and I do it in this game, right? So I really did like Horizon Zero Dawn. It was just some of the game stuff sometimes didn't really. And you're right. This Forbidden West started out very similar to the first game, as I'm sure you've played, right? Did you not feel like it was just a little too familiar? Because for me, it was just a little too like the same.
I didn't feel like it was too familiar, but it felt familiar. I haven't really had that moment jump out at me where I do feel like it's significantly different in any substantial way. There's definitely there's a lot of little things that they've vastly improved upon, and I guess a larger overarching thing. I didn't really get into the story, especially not the kind of the finer details of the different tribes and societies in the first game. I found kind of the politics of it very boring, and I felt like they handled overall the story and the not only the larger plot points but the smaller story beats a lot better this time around as well.
Yeah, see, I think for me, that's kind of the storytelling I like. One of the reasons why I really enjoyed Resident Evil before 4 is like reading all those, like, because you have a story happening in the moment, right? And then you have a story happening in the past because you're finding all these journals and notes and stuff that you're reading about other events. That's what Horizon Zero Dawn does as well, and that's why I really enjoyed it. You have the current day politics of all the tribes and stuff, and you have the backstory of what the fuck happened to planet Earth. And it's both. And I really enjoy that kind of thing. And that's why I really enjoyed Horizon Zero Dawn. And that's why I really enjoyed, probably more than you, story-wise. Because that's really what... I don't want to say that's what kept me going, because that makes it sound like the game was trash or something I just played it with story. Because that's not true. It's just that, like, that was my motivating factor with story.
So what was the big thing that really made this substantially different than Zero Dawn for you? That really...
It's just when you really get out into the real world, because you know how you just kind of start at like locations that you've been to before, and like you kind of just go to like, oh, I need to get into the Forbidden West. You know what I mean? I feel like all of that stuff was a little too much. I just wanted to get there already. I was just being impatient. I don't know what it was, but I was just kind of like, can we just get out here? And then once we did, I was fine, you know? And then of course some more story stuff happens, of which I will talk about another time, but like, I think you know what I'm talking about. A certain group of people show up. Let's just say that. Once that happened, my brain went, okay, here we go. Yeah, that's when it really flipped for me, right?
And that plot point definitely took it in a radically different direction than anything that was in the first.
Yeah, so that was the turning point for me, and then my brain went, okay, I'm here now, I'm into it now, and then from there I just started to enjoy everything else, the open world, the whole bit, you know. But I need that story first, you know, in this kind of game. So
I do also, I want to talk about the climbing specifically, because you've said a few times that you feel like it was just kind of more of the same AAA bullshit. I thought immediately that the climbing and just, you know, structure traversal for kind of some of the larger vertical man-made structures feels much more organic than it did the first time. It's definitely a lot less directed, but I feel like it feels just a little bit janky, and I can't even really articulate why. I fully understand how all of the systems work. Just there's times where I'm not jumping to where I want to be jumping to, and I don't feel like it's my fault necessarily. The controls are like just a little bit fucky. There's been a few times where I've been in, you know, fighting a group of robot dinosaurs, and all of a sudden I'm like holding on to the fucking side of a cliff face and can't get off of it. Just a little bit of shit like that.
Yes, I felt the same way. Look, I usually forgive that kind of stuff, but I mostly did in this game, because like, you know, you're going up a mountain, it's like, well, why can't I just kind of scuffle up that? You know what I mean? It doesn't really make any sense why you can't do that. It's like, wait, I have to go to this little rock over here, then I can, you know what I mean? So it's a little fucky. You are correct. I don't know. It's just a sticking point with me. I always like, maybe I'm just too old school, and I always think like jumping and traversal should be very, very manual. That's just how I like stuff. And I understand like not every game can do that, because you're trying to present it a certain way. I get it. You know what I mean? But for me,
is it partially is it partially this time around because you use your focus and then it like still highlights everything in yellow? In the last game, everything was just automatically yellow, so it stuck out like a sore thumb. But they're still doing that. They're still saying, you know, here's a better reason why it's yellow, but it's still yellow. Here's still where you can climb.
Yes, you are correct. That is how I feel. And look, maybe that's just the way it has to be. I'm not like completely knocking the game for it. It's just what it is. It's the kind of game it is. It's not something I'm ever really going to like that much. But again, and I know it's unfair to always compare to Breath of the Wild, but like that game, the first game came out like what, a month before it? It was so hard not to compare. Now I didn't play Horizon Zero Dawn till like early 2020, I think. But like, you know, it was hard not to compare even at the time. And like, it's hard not to compare now.
Yeah, I agree. Even this go around, I'm still thinking back to Breath of the Wild quite often. I don't want to get too into the weeds on this climbing thing, but I actually did think just because they are giving a better reason as to why they're showing the path to climb up stuff, and it's part of the focus, not just because the things you can climb up happen to have fucking yellow ropes on them. That for me did make it feel better. It just made it feel a lot more organic, I guess.
Yes. Also, I want to say something, and this is true of the first game, and I didn't praise it enough for this because I probably just didn't realize it, but the way this game tells its story so well and like straightforward, because there's some complicated stuff going on here, right? Think about how many games get lost in the weeds where it could become too Star Trek-y, or it could feel like totally like not of this, like a Final Fantasy VIII or something, where it's just like, that doesn't even make any sense. You know what I mean? This game really... It doesn't dumb it down, but it presents it in such a way that is so concise in its storytelling and dialogue that is really to be commended. I think that's why people really get into Horizon Zero Dawn, because you're actually presenting this very kind of complicated disaster of a story down very well. Like, I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yeah, that's good to hear that you still feel that way, because when we talked about that big kind of story turn that happens, maybe I'm guessing a quarter to a third of the way through the game, when that happened, you know, I went, oh shit, by the end of this, is it going to get like radically sci-fi where it kind of like ruins the essence of what, you know, I think Horizon should be. So if you feel like it kind of maintains that all the way through, that's good to know.
I feel like it does. I feel, well, obviously things are different and it's going to get a little more out there, but it never goes anywhere close to what I would call too far. So
yeah. No, that's perfect. I had a couple other just little things. I don't know if I mentioned this when I talked last time about playing through Zero Dawn, but I fucking hated the inventory system in that game. It was just a constant fucking struggle of juggling everything, and this game did it so much better. Anything that you pick up that doesn't fit into your inventory automatically just goes to your stash. If you run out of some of your resources the next time you're in your town at your stash, you can just automatically top up everything all in one shot that's sitting in your stash. I know it's certainly not realistic, but you know, we're also playing a fucking game about giant robot dinosaurs, and you know, it's fine, and it just works a lot better.
No, that is necessary. They obviously took some criticism to heart there, because like you said, it isn't realistic, but like you said, I'm killing robot boars and shooting off their tusks to upgrade my arrow pack, right?
Even last time when I would get to a harder part of the game, like over and over and over, there would be times where I would spend, you know, minutes at a time just running around looking for the health refills and then getting back to the fire and saving. And it just seemed like a lot of needless fuck around. And this time, you know, I don't have that going on. So that's a big plus.
No, I was going to agree. I don't remember having too bad of a time with the inventory stuff in the first game, but now that you mention it, yes, that is much improved.
Yeah. The motion capture and the dialogue in this makes a huge difference, and it's something that they didn't really have to do. But in the first game, and it wasn't even a complaint when I played the first game, but definitely when any time that there's dialogue, whether it's a smaller side quest or a major story thing, you know, it's just one camera back and forth between static faces with the lips moving. It's very emotionless and it feels very robotic. The motion capture and the cutscenes, even for like small one-off side quests in this game, is hands down the best I've ever seen in a game. Absolutely.
It's incredible. It adds so much value to like doing other quests, because it's not just like, yeah, you could say it's still kind of open worldy. Oh, get me these 3 things or whatever. Fine. Okay. But like the acting, like you said, for even like the smallest little side quest, everything is completely mocapped, voice acted, like everything's great. Now that's not to say I did all the quests. I mean, I beat the game and you haven't, but I mean, I did a fair amount of them. I just kind of did the ones I cared about, or that involved the people or towns I cared about. You know what I mean? I didn't do everything, but I'm sure if I did, they would all be that quality, and that is excellent that they did that.
Even for shit that I know, if it would have been presented the way it was in the first game, that I wouldn't have been interested in, and I would have just been mashing the button to move past the dialogue, just because it's so much more like watching a short movie, and everything just feels so much better. I'm getting more invested in these stories that I wouldn't have necessarily if it wasn't presented that way.
Absolutely.
So I think that's huge.
One more thing I want to say. I have one last point, and I don't know if you notice this, but I'll just say this. So, like, the tribes, right? Various tribes, just like the first game. There's black people, there's white people, there's Asian people, right, in these tribes. And it's like, there's men, there's women, right? I don't know if they're trying to present some sort of idealized, like... Because obviously throughout history, things weren't that way, right? If you think about like tribal areas or like, whatever. Obviously, though, this is post-apocalyptic America that has all sorts of people because it's America. And you have like, I don't know. I thought that was really interesting because obviously if they went a certain direction with it, this could very easily like dive off the cliff into like Native American or First Nations kind of like... Right. You know what I mean? Kind of like a parody almost. And I feel like they were probably conscious of that. So they I guess all I'm trying to say is this game doesn't feel like weirdly offensive in any way, which it very well could if they did it wrong.
Yeah, and I think I did notice that, but I didn't really spend a lot of time thinking about it because that's subconsciously where my mind went, is because this is post-apocalyptic. All of these people of different walks of life have kind of all merged, more based on the geography that they found themselves in than anything. I think,
like you said, the West Coast of America or anywhere in America has all sorts of people, right? So it's just like that's the point. Sort of like Fallout, right? I mean, it's goddamn America. Of course, it's not just going to be white people or whatever, right? So I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. I'm not saying they did that to just cover their ass or something. I'm just saying it's a nice, weirdly idealized world in a world that's like really fucked up. I just thought it was like a weird, fun touch.
Even if we talk about like in the sense of covering their asses, and we've kind of talked about this before as to, where things do to the detriment of the story are trying to make a social point or whatever. And this is a great place to be able to do that because it does feel very natural. It does feel like it's just part of that world without, trying to stand up and say something that's drawing attention to it as a point, rather than just making it be there because it makes sense.
Right. Yeah, the characters just are who they are, and that's great. Nobody's, you can always tell when a game is trying to be like a little too ham-fisted or a little too anyway. Hey Steve, wake up. Next segment. We're about to take a break.
Hold on, I got
podcast start.
No, go ahead.
I've one more point I want to hit on before we move on from this. Actually, I've one very small point. I just want to say that the water looks so fucking good in this game.
Oh my God.
I've never seen water that looks this good either.
It's so
like
good.
There's so much like color difference depending on it. You're in like a fucking green swamp or like super clear blue, crystally water. It just looks really cool.
Absolutely.
And I guess building on that, and this kind of does go back to the climbing thing once again, the environments overall, like between kind of how much foliage is in there, the varied topography of everything. There's way more instances where you'd find like, old broken jet planes or just like shit all over. And it looks really, really good. But at times, and I'm not accusing it of doing this. And I guess more a generalized question about all games. I sometimes feel like when we get to a certain amount of complexity just for for the purpose of aesthetics, it sometimes is a little bit detrimental to gameplay. Things just kind of get in the way. And I once in a while I have found myself feeling like that in this game. Would you kind of agree with that, or do you think it's just something that people need to adapt to?
I don't feel that way in this game. I do feel like environments can occasionally get overstuffed, but in something this wide open, it's spacious, I think it's fine. I do think what you're saying is a thing, though, but not in this game.
Even some of the like I don't know what you would call like the tribe communities or like the little towns or whatever, they're definitely much more grandiose than they were in the first game. But there's the one where it's kind of like the tree house that goes up like 4 levels, and there's different fucking stairs that go all over
yes,
everywhere. And you can't use the map in any of those things because the map is only overhead and it's saying, you know, the stash is in this location. But when you've got like 4 or 5 levels stacking on top of each other, it's kind of a pain in the dick to like run around and figure out where the shopkeeper or whatever you're looking for.
Yeah, because the icons don't really show up on your HUD very well. So it's like, I just want to find the bow seller or something like that. And then you just can't. Yeah, I understand. I had that problem.
And then there's like 15 fucking sets of stairs going in every which direction and like swinging around. I don't know. Like it's fine. It's not, it wasn't ruining anything, but it was something that I noticed a little bit.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, by next time we get to do big spoiler hours talk, because I can't wait to talk about this shit.
I gotta buckle down.
It is wild. So, with that, we're going to take a break. Be right back. We're back, people, and it's time for the big ass questions. So I'm gonna get us I almost said I'm gonna get us kicked off here, which is not a thing people say. I'm gonna get this kicked off by talking about the Capcom announcement from now almost a week and a half ago. I don't know if you guys remember the countdown. They had a countdown site. You guys remember this?
Everyone was doing a countdown 2 weeks ago,
and then the countdown didn't work because it got to the threshold, and then it just kept saying 1 hour left, and we're like, no, it's not. Where's the announcement? And then the PlayStation Twitter account finally tweeted the news, which was 2 things. One, they announced Street Fighter 6. That's not really the interesting part.
You don't like reused dad bod?
I do. Wait, I mean, whoa, who said that? But the interesting part is they announced something called Capcom Fighting Collection, which is a very nondescript title, by the way, Capcom Fighting Collection. But there's 10 games here, and they are as follows. All 5 Darkstalkers games. Yes, 5. Yes, we got 3 in North America. We're getting all 5 now. Hyper Street Fighter 2, the Anniversary Edition. I actually don't know what version this is. I've never played Hyper Street Fighter 2. I think it's a home version from the early 2000s. I don't remember. Super Gem Fighter Mini Mix, a game I put lots of quarters into back in the day. Cyberbots, Red Earth. That's the big get, right? Red Earth. Oh my God, finally. Mm-hmm. And then topping off with Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, which is not a fighting game at all. So I don't know why that's here, but it's here.
Because fighter's in the name. Okay, next big question.
I mean, you know what? I want to read, because you guys, we're all looking at the same notes here. I want to read the names of the Darkstalkers games just out loud because they're stupid. So I'm going to read them out loud. We have Darkstalkers, The Night Warriors, Darkstalkers Revenge, Vampire Savior, The Lord of Vampire, Vampire Hunter 2, Darkstalkers Revenge, Vampire Savior 2, The Lord of Vampire. What the fuck?
It sucks because I've only played Darkstalkers a few times in an arcade before. So when I'm playing all these other games for the first time, I can't just say shorthand, oh, I'm playing Darkstalkers Revenge or The Lord of Vampire. I'll have to say the whole thing, otherwise no one here is going to... Andre's not going to know what the fuck what I'm talking about.
No. I just think it's really funny that like the first game is subtitled The Night Warriors and then the second game is called Night Warriors. It's like, what are you guys doing? Anyway, point is, this is great. I hadn't played Darkstalkers since the arcade days. So for me, I never bought like the PSP compilation. I didn't even import the Dreamcast thing from back in the day. I've just never played them again. Haven't had the opportunity. So for me, this is excellent. Steve, what do you want to like? What are you looking to cherry pick here? I think you told me you never played Gem Fighter, right?
I haven't played Gem Fighter. I remember seeing it in the back of import sections back when places like Electronic Gaming Monthly had the import section as Pocket Fighter. And I remember being the dumb kid being like, why the heck is a game called Pocket Fighter only on the PlayStation? Why isn't it on Game Boy or the Wonder Swan or one of these other weird machines that is actually in your pocket? Because and then I figured out what it was years later.
Because this is the weird era where we have to rename stuff when it comes home. Like Soul Edge became Soul Blade on PS1 for some reason, right? Gem Fighter became Pocket Fighter for some reason on PS1. I couldn't tell you why. Anyway, this is great. I've never played Red Earth personally. Obviously, that's the big get here. So I want to frame this like last year they had Capcom Arcade Stadium. It was a success for Capcom, as they said, and like they said, we're going to add more games to this. So what do you guys want to see? You know what I mean? This is it. Is this the more games for Capcom Arcade Stadium, even though it's not Capcom Arcade Stadium? Because the big knock on Capcom Arcade Stadium was that it was kind of missing essential 90s stuff. Hey, much like the games that are in this compilation. So is this it then? Did they just decide to spin it off into a thing? I wonder if that's true.
In my heart of hearts, I'd like to believe that there are other things that aren't fighting games that could still be added to this thing. But I don't know what those are, because I don't know every video game ever made. Andre, do you know every video game ever made?
No, I don't.
That could possibly fill in the gaps of what that Capcom might have released and could still show up on this thing.
No, I'm missing. I seem to be missing that data. Thank you. I thank you for putting me on the spot in front of everybody.
Because I'm thrilled to have these games with online play, because that was my one little complaint about the arcade collection. Was like, oh, it's good to have things like Street Fighter on here, but I can't play with anyone because I live by myself mostly, and no one else will want to play these things with me.
I don't know for sure, but I'm going to take a wild guess and say that you do have Street Fighter 30th. So, like,
I do.
All right, then. So if you ever want to like get really mad at Street Fighter Alpha 3 with me, we can do that. I mean, geez.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so Kevin.
I'm a little bit sour about you guys in the Ryu dad bod comments. Very unhealthy precedents for dad bods. I'll still try and push through this next topic. So last week, Jason Schreier tweeted the following: for the first time in 2 decades, Call of Duty will skip a year. Activision has delayed 2023's game made by Treyarch to 2024. Sources tell Bloomberg it's a shocking move that will have a massive impact on the franchise and the industry. And then these two knuckleheads let me know that apparently previously I had predicted this, which I didn't remember at all.
You did.
You guys could have said that you predicted this, and I would, said, "Oh, that's smart."
No, you absolutely predicted this.
Oh no!
I do remember saying that Call of Duty does feel like it's losing steam big time, but good call, Kevin. Kind of going on from that tweet, a new premium Call of Duty has come out every year since 2005. Next year's offerings will include a new free-to-play game as well as new content for Warzone 2 and 2022's Modern Warfare, and this decision was made completely independently of Microsoft. Call of Duty Vanguard underperformed, and Activision exclusives have been concerned about the games cannibalizing one another, sources say. Is that bullshit, the independently of Microsoft? I think it's bullshit.
I feel like it is, right? Like, it has to be. Why wouldn't they just keep on trucking? It doesn't... Look, we're at the point where, like people... I don't know, like Call of Duty fans hate half of the ones that come out anyway, right? If they released another quote-unquote bad Call of Duty, who cares, right? Like, they hate Advanced Warfare, like, Infinite Warfare, whatever that one is in space, right? Or they hate, like, I don't know, Call of Duty. I always call it Call of Doggy, but it's the one with the dog. Like, they hate that one, right? So, like, I don't know, man. If it's not Black Ops or, like, I don't know, they seem to, like, not like it. But what do I know, right?
Does anybody think that this massive impact on the franchise and industry quote makes any sense? I'm surprised this come out of Jason Schreier's mouth, because I feel like something like this he would be pretty well informed on, and I don't see it.
It feels a little over dramatic, but I know lots of people buy this every year, and Doritos and Mountain Dew have those labels at 7-Eleven, and that's like their big source of revenue around that time of year when everyone's supposed to be buying Christmas gifts for their kids. Instead, and they need you to do that instead.
Did Ascreed skipping a year or two there like really have a massive... No, like, it's probably like more liked than it has been in the last decade, right? So, like, I don't know. I think Steve used the right term, dramatic. I really, come on. Like,
I think the lines are quite blurred, as well as, more and more franchises are kind of going to the live service model. Even Halo Infinite recently, and that's a big player in that FPS space.
Yeah, and like they're doing the free Call of Duty with Warzone, and like, is that it though? Does it really make sense to have annual franchises anymore like this? Because it kind of feels like it might not be, because you can just... I don't know. Is there really a benefit from having a Call of Duty every year? I guess the answer is yes, right? Because like tens of millions of people buy them every year. And by the way, as a tangent, what the hell does like Call of Duty Vanguard underperformed means? That could mean anything according to Activision, right? They think everything
it only sold 101 million units instead of 101.2 million units.
Underperformed. Fire everybody.
Sell to Microsoft.
I don't know, when we're talking about whether an annualized franchise makes sense or not, and I'm definitely not the key demographic here, but to me that made a lot more sense when the campaign was a big draw of that, and I feel like the campaign has progressively been... Well, actually, because they don't even always have a campaign anymore, right? Didn't they skip campaign in Call of Duty for a few years?
I think they skipped a campaign in Black Ops 4.
Okay, I think just in one title.
Yeah,
it's definitely lost importance.
But I think that's also, and I said at the time, that was such a bad idea because they don't realize how many people buy it for that. Yeah, they see like the continued play of multiplayer, and that gets all the like the streamers and stuff like that. But people genuinely, like regular people, come to Call of Duty for that campaign. I bet a lot of them bought Black Ops 4 or whatever. Didn't have it, and it didn't have it.
Do wonder if by that time though that crowd was dying out rapidly, and it was still the crowd that just still wanted to come for online play. Like how many annual Call of Duty campaigns can you play and still get excited about it?
I don't know, man. But I don't know. How do I say it? Like, I do feel like that has impact. Like, so if we're getting down to the point now where they feel like they have to skip a year, that's a long-term impact. Now, we'll never know the real, you know what I mean? We can only speculate, but I don't know. I feel like that had an effect.
To be fair, none of us fucking know what we're talking about when it comes to Call of Duty. We might as well be like standing in the tampon aisle trying to pick something out here.
Hey, I'll talk about something I barely know about for a second. Your campaign idea makes a bit more sense to have a game every year than fucking John Madden football, where I've been sitting here for the past decade going, why are we making a new game every year when we can just update the fucking roster and sell that as a DLC pack instead of filling the landfills with unsold copies?
Yeah, but I think there's still. I
know why, because we still sell the copies to the dude bros. But I feel like after a year or so later, we're just harvesting the cases for better cases for other games.
You can always innovate on a sports game, though. Maybe not literally 15 years in a row, 20 to 25 years in a row like Madden, you know what I mean? But I think there's much more case for there to be an annual sports MLB The Show every year than like Call of Duty, personally.
That's interesting because I don't even have a remote frame of reference on how much annualized sports games change. You could tell me that the NHL series has been the same for the last 15 years, and I would not have a clue.
Yeah. But and also a lot of those games you can actually update the rosters. You can. And you can like put in whoever, like if I popped in my, maybe not something this old, but I'm sure I have like MLB Show 14 laying around for like PS4. You could update the rosters for those for at least a couple years, because I did.
Why would they do that?
I don't know. Well, here's the thing. I think people want the new features, the new like campaign mode, the new whatever, will still buy the game every year. I'm not a person who needs to do that every year. Like this year, I'll probably still just play the MLB The Show 21 just fine. Right? Especially since God knows what's happening to the baseball this year. But yeah, but you know.
If they didn't update the rosters for a few years after, would you be more likely to buy annualized?
Yes, I would. Because that's really the thing that matters to me. I don't want to play a game with an old roster. Like, if you really care about the sport, like, maybe if you're just kind of dabbling in it, you don't care who the players are or even know, right? You can play whatever version. But for me, I really love baseball. Got to be current. Has to be. So if they didn't update the rosters, then I would have to.
I also didn't know that they do that. It's interesting to me that they do that. It's good from a consumer standpoint, but from a business standpoint, that seems like it would be the draw to keep people coming back.
But like you can do it manually too, even if it doesn't like you don't have like any automatic updates. You can manually put whatever players on whatever team. You can have like you know what I mean. Like you can change whatever the hell you want. So if you keep up with baseball enough, and I do, I can just make this guy got traded to this team, and this guy signed in free agency. That I can do all that shit, you know. So anyway, okay, we are fans around here of Schadenfreude. So Steve, we got some choice, some nice, ribeye of Schadenfreude here.
I guess I do, huh? Hey guys, what's an Amico? Oh no, what's an Amico with you? Anyway,
what's the matter, you?
I'm sure anyone that's been sort of on video game Twitter for a while has passed some sort of tweets of the Amico, the little project where Tommy Tallarico, yes, the man who composed Color a Dinosaur, and some
rude.
And the number he keeps pointing it out, so I'm going to keep doing it too. And however many other people in the industry, I'll be generous and call them that, decided to buy the Intellivision brand name from Mattel. Remember, they're not attached to this in any meaningful way. To make the Amico a family-friendly home console. This was supposed to come out 2 years ago. It has not come out 2 years ago. It did not come out last year. It's still not out, guys. So what's gone on over the course of this year? Tommy, I swear I totally composed all the music for Metroid Prime, and I even invented a Metroid or two. Tallarico had to step down as CEO and was replaced by Phil Adam. The same Phil Adam who ran Interplay to the ground about 20 some odd years ago. So, we're already off to a great start with that.
Phil Adam, I just want to say, I don't trust anybody with two first names. Like, that's just a life rule. I'm sorry, anybody out there has two first names, but you're going to have to earn my trust.
Amen.
Oh, he's not getting it, because some short time after that, they came out and pretty much said they're about $8 million in the hole, a lot of it in unpaid salaries to themselves and whatever, and trying to set up however many more crowdfunding initiatives as they do. And sometime last year, they even tried selling physical product, which is, I put in quotes because all they really did with that was they put RFID chips on that don't activate anything into very flimsy cardboard boxes with art of games they insist that are going to launch with this thing.
I'd rather buy an NFT. I feel like that has more.
I feel
like that has more value than whatever you just said out of your mouth.
I feel like it does too, but they set up individual meetings with certain investors, and real big shots with money. And they'll try and ask questions like, so are you guys actually on track for this sort of thing? I heard online that this is kind of like a mobile phone that you guys are trying to make into a game console. I don't see why this has to cost as much as some of your competition. And they keep deflecting their attention on, oh, the haters keep getting in our way. Using those exact terms to people that are potentially pitching money to the company.
That's something you say when you do meth, right? Are these guys blowing their money on meth? I feel like haters talk is meth talk. I don't know why. I'm feeling kind of methy right now with that.
For a machine that didn't even come out yet. Their most widely available, we'll call it, crowdfunding initiative was on Start Engine. Ended very suddenly on February 28th at $58,001.
Who donated $1?
Me, like, just to be spiteful. Like, I want to put a drop in this bucket. Maybe it was 100 people donating a penny. Maybe
whoever donated that dollar actually knew that it would make a difference, and when that showed up on Tommy's email, he did a little cheer and said, "We got another $1."
Guys,
he gets an email for literally every donation into his inbox, so he sees the $1 one. He's like, "Come on."
Maybe the $1 donation is what you need to do a podcast and have Tommy Tellerico on as a guest.
I'm not familiar with Start Engine tactics or whatever, or math in general, but I don't think $58,000 is enough to fix all the problems of whatever you might be having in developing a video game console that was supposed to come out 2 years ago. This sounds to me like they're trying to stuff a virtual briefcase full of money and trying to skip town, except names like Tommy Tallarico, who, as of a few weeks ago, was still thinking he was going to do a video games live concert in Washington in April. I mean, how far are you going to really disappear with $58,000 anyway?
Look, I mean, if he shows up there and plays some jams from like Wild 9 or Earthworm Jim 2, I'm just saying I might tune in.
But how does any live concert that he would put on at this point not result in everyone rushing the stage and stabbing him?
He won't actually be there. It's going to be like, remember, like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago on stage they had like hologram Tupac. Does anyone remember that shit? Yeah, yes. Like that. Because that shit was amazing.
Hologram Tommy, but just to keep him safe.
Yeah. Yeah, hologram Tupac was amazing, man. Like, they should. Yeah, come on.
I don't think this is I don't think this concert is happening, and I think this is coming to a head very soon. Tommy just locked his Twitter down to private as of yesterday. So
I wouldn't know. I've been blocked ever since I went onto the account and asked why would we need such a thing when consoles like Nintendo Switch and even other systems have games that appeal to families.
As a responsible member of Fine Time, I kept following Tommy, and I didn't flame him so that I could get the inside scoop for us.
I didn't think it was flaming. I didn't think I was flaming. I was just a fan. Remember, well, not a fan. I was just a person on Twitter. I wasn't on any sort of podcast or having any sort of, deal. I was just a guy, and I got blocked for asking a question. I mean, I didn't kick his cat or anything, or knock his goldfish onto the floor.
This isn't coming out, right? This isn't coming out.
It can't.
It's interesting you say that, because the entire time all of this has been going on for years, I still thought it was coming out. As shitty of an idea as it seemed at this point, I think you're right. But it never did seem like this actually was vaporware.
Yeah, me too. But like now that we're here, though,
last year they didn't even have an OS. They were still looking for someone to develop that.
I want to ask a specific question, and I don't. I know that we're like years and years and years past it being relevant to talk about why this was a bad idea in the first place. But I don't understand. So they're in theory positioning this as a family friendly product, aimed at people with young kids. To me, the people that have young kids right now are generally maybe 25 to early 40s. These people grew up playing NES anyways, maybe Super Nintendo. I don't think anybody gives a fuck about Intellivision with little kids.
Mm-hmm.
Am I off base with any of that?
No, you were absolutely correct. I only know what one is because it's a name in video game history, and I had Intellivision Libs for PS2, like a compilation. That's the only way I played Intellivision games, and I'm pushing 40, right?
My,
so how
my
old do you
uncle
have
had one,
to be?
and it was fun to fuck around with, but yeah, I mean...
Like, my cousin had an Intellivision. They were like the early adopters of the family. I probably mentioned they were the first one in our family to get an NES as well. Like, and they had Rob the Robot, actually. That's another story for another time. But yeah, it was, I mean, I don't think I ever played their Intellivision, or at least I was too young to remember having done so. Because my first console was an NES I got for my fourth birthday, which would be May 86. So, like, I'm not even old enough to have played it. I guess you just have to be like that truly Gen Xer, like, like they are, like in that demographic. But how many people give a shit? And guess what? Every console out there is family friendly. Buy family friendly games for it. Problem solved.
The one thing they might have had to get this in the door was a very low price point they announced very early on, way prematurely. And even that was made very irrelevant when the price jumped up $100. Mm-hmm. This is when you might as well just spend another $50 on Switch.
The only market this was ever going to do any business in was overzealous collectors,
and ones that don't do research, because as I led with, this is not affiliated with Mattel, who made the Intellivision in the first place.
Nope.
Mattel, who is very famous for sitting on all of their IP, was willing to sell the Intellivision name to Tommy Tallarico and his friends to attempt to make whatever this is. That's how not valuable the Intellivision brand is to them.
Yep. It doesn't mean
Is it
anything.
just me, or when Andre said I'm pushing 40, did he move on like really quick because he knew that I was going to start being shitty?
No, I knew I kind of felt it. I felt the heat a little bit, but I was like, okay, I'm just going to tuck that into this one little sentence here and just kind of pad it out.
Seeing that little glint of me being an asshole in my eye. And
I kind of felt something asshole-ish coming up around the bend there, so I was like, oh, let me move on here. Okay, moving on from that for now anyway, until that comes to its desired end. Steve, we had a Pokemon Presents on Sunday.
Yeah, let's talk about games that are actually coming out. So, Pokemon Presents happened on Sunday because, they don't give a fuck over at the Pokemon Company. They just throw a direct whenever the hell they want. 9 a.m. my time. What? And then, mostly just updates for things that are ongoing right now. A free update for Pokemon Arceus that you can go check out now. Shaman for the Diamond Pearl remakes, blah, blah, blah. But then at the very end, we got a pretty good-looking trailer for a Game Freak game for Generation 9 games Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. At the end, looks like it's going to be in Spain. I mean, and afterward they said it's going to be open world, which they said on purpose. So, I mean, it's been a bumpy road. Do we think Game Freak figured out this HD business finally, or is it just going to be me talking about this in November or whatever?
This HD business, that's so fucking embarrassing to have to say out loud. My God. Get your shit together, Game Freak.
It's only been 15 years.
I mean,
that was the standard.
Tell me about it. Jesus Christ. I mean, I hope they figured it out in the year of our Lord 2022. Jesus. God.
I don't know. I really liked Arceus, so maybe I'll be playing this with you too, Steve. We'll see how much of the.
I mean, there's a water bird as one of the starters, and then a fire crocodile.
Oh wow, we've never seen that before. I'm sorry, I really shouldn't act this. I don't know why I'm being so cynical.
and a grass kitty, which Vin I'm sure has drawn 20 of and can't decide which one he needs to post.
The weed cat, right? I've been seeing that everywhere. Everyone's been I saw someone where it's like the weed cat and then like some like very like traditional sort of furry character like smoking a bong or something. Like it was wild. People are going crazy with this.
I figured that's Vin's spirit animal, but I guess he needs to get it just right before he starts posting the art.
Man, Andre's just cynical because he knows that he's gonna look dumb trying to guess these names in a year.
Oh my god, yeah, we're gonna have another 90 to 100 new names for him to throw in the pool for me to feel.
Steve, make a mental note to throw out Weed Cat at one point and see what he says.
See if I remember by then.
Yeah, he'll be in his 40s now, so this conversation will be long gone.
No. I'd come up with something. With something clever, at least, like, I don't know, Fellvine.
Should I get? I mean, I don't know. See, that could go either way. I have no idea. That sounds real.
We're building off Weed Cat, though. Like, come on. That was a prompt.
Well, I'll tell you this. I actually don't know the name of Weed Cat. So, I mean, like, I don't really know. They looked like the three names look very super duper Italian to me or something. So, like, I really don't know. I glanced by it. One looked like it was called frittata or something. Free a cocococho.
Fellvine is clever for on the spot, I must say.
I'm good at this sometimes when my brain is broken.
I don't know. Fatulence, really. I really wanted that to be real. I'm telling you. Maybe it should be.
No, I just thought that was fun. I guess we can move on to, I don't know, more game preservation.
Okay, wow. Try not to sound too excited about
it. I just feel like we just keep throwing that word around and not really thinking about what that means.
Yes, I'm sorry. We're going to talk about the P word in a slightly different way. Also a different kind of P word right after this. All right, we're back. We're going to talk about one of the two P words we discussed. And one of them, I'm sorry, everybody, we're going to have to say the P word, a preservation. We talked about this last episode in terms of the Wii U and 3DS eShops closing. And the debate online is still kind of raged about this in myriad ways, a lot of them stupid. So we kind of wanted to take a hatchet to that. But we kind of have an interesting jumping off point here, Steve.
Yeah, everyone's, oh no, we're going to lose Pushmo and Switchblade and whatever else in next year. But what about all this crap on the VR things that I can't afford right now or ever because I'm not going to buy into Meta's plan, like Ron Jeremy's saggy balls strip poker. Is anyone working to preserve that?
It's interesting with VR, right? Because that seems like the most disposable thing that there is. Not in terms that there's not like good VR games. I don't mean it that way. I just mean like it just feels so of the moment that it's just like, I don't know. So like, I remember we used to, being from Southern California, we used to take the drive up to Vegas at least like once a year or something. And it was good for kids because, there's big arcades and stuff and the parents to go gamble. Anyway, so like the arcades in Vegas are like world class, right? They have all sorts of floor space to have all the huge machines. That's where I used to see like a 8-player linked cabinet of Daytona USA 2. It's the only place I ever saw that. Oh my God. Anyway, I remember I think it was Luxor, they had a thing where you could play Doom in VR. Now, mind you, this was like 1994 or something, or 95, where that kind of thing would be really cool still. You know what I mean? This wasn't like 2011. But you could put on a little VR helmet and be inside Doom, right? Where's that? I mean, like, if not that we have to preserve every little thing of history, but where's that? But that's just it, isn't it? We don't have to. If I can't play the Doom VR thing that I played at Luxor in 1994 or 5, oh my fucking god, I think the world will go on just fine.
And I think, so just for clarification, I want to butt in, because we kind of started this conversation offline a little while ago. I guess the justification for VR being a specific case is just because the hardware, it's so hardware specific, and that hardware is changing, 5 times a year to something different. Is that's kind of the idea behind it being more of a difficult thing to preserve?
It's one of them.
Yeah, that's one of them. But just in general, like, it's a very, again, I hate to keep using the word disposable because it sounds so dismissive, but like, I don't really know what else to call it. Doesn't that market just feel sort of, this entire industry has been built on temporary ground anyway, from MMOs to live service games to whatever, right? Like, not everything to disk rot, to disk drives failing, to hard drives failing. Right? So, like, VR is just another one of those things, like, it's here, you can play it, but like he said, if we can't play Ron Jeremy's saggy ball strip poker in 5 years, like, I don't know.
I think for me, and in general, I understand the sentiment, especially with the metaverse and this this is a very VR driven thing. But I would make the argument, if we took something like Astrobot Rescue Mission, I would say that's just as valid as anything non VR. And then we could probably make the same comparison with PlayStation Home or like you said, MMOs. There's a lot of things that are so community driven regardless of platform that the preservation is senseless at that point.
Yeah, it's just interesting to think about, because we always want to go to the easy thing. I think that's what, when any of these things come up, we always want to tackle the topics with the very easy thing, and the Wii U and 3DS eShops were like the easy go-to to get all up in arms about, even though we shouldn't. But that's what I don't think anyone's going to be up in arms about God knows what going away, right? About VR. None of us have. Oh, wait, you have a PlayStation VR, right, Kevin?
I have the original PlayStation VR, yeah. But because I found it for like less than half price used was kind of the motivator there.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought that was like a interesting jump off point for it. But if everyone's done with that, just moving on. I'll lay this out, okay? And then just everyone can play off of this. So, 2006, Wii comes out, Virtual Console becomes a thing, right? Who at that time in 2006 thought, oh man, this store is going to last the rest of my lifetime? We buy a new console every 4 or 5, 6 years, right? Why would you think a store would last that long too for a console we don't play anymore? We move on to the next thing in this hobby, in this industry. I never once in my life thought, oh man, those things I buy on Wii, I'm just going to be able to access them forever and purchase them forever, and it's just going to be there to the year 3050.
For me, I didn't even think about it at the time, to be honest. That it was such a new concept to have a storefront on consoles. But I think that being said, that kind of speaks for itself. I wasn't thinking about that, and I certainly wasn't, buying, Star Tropics again under the illusion that I was buying it for good and I would retain that copy forever. And I think a lot of people felt that same way. They were buying it because it was available and it was cool. I don't think there was that expectation from the get-go.
Kevin, I like Star Tropics too, but I don't think anyone was buying it because it was cool.
Oh man,
it is cool. I bought it because it's cool. I thought you were an ally, Steven.
Yeah, I am an ally, but I didn't say anything for a few seconds. So
that's my Jesus
shocked
Christ.
And appalled.
No, but I will say that I did think I didn't think this was going to last forever, but you'd think that when I did honestly think for a brief time before I understood how more of this was working that certain aspects of this would have been easier to move along from shop to shop. Like, I figured Virtual Console would have just been a mainstay across all of these, across all Nintendo platforms, but it just hasn't been. I mean, they tried. They did a bit with Wii U, but it's just a fraction of what it was on Wii, and now we have the apps with really long names on Switch and a bunch of compilations, so that made by other companies. So it's just not a thing at all. So what I thought when I was way back when is obviously not the case today.
Food for thought. Do we think if the Wii U would have been much, much, much more successful and people were more ingrained in that ecosystem, that moving forward we would have had a better chance in shifting to that model, going into Switch?
I'm going to say no. And I'll tell you why. Because if you remember, like the PS3 era, and then you had like PSP, if you bought like the PS1 classics on there, you could play it on either one, right? You could also play those on Vita because it was PSP backwards compatibility, but not everything. Like, I could play Crash Bandicoot PS1 classics on my PSP. I could not play that on Vita. They were completely separate licenses. There was a lot of games, especially even PSP games proper, not just PS1 classics, where you had to download it to your PS3, hook your Vita up to it, the PS3, and transfer it, because you couldn't download it directly from the Vita store. That was the only way you could get it on there. There was all sorts of weird license shit.
I see what you're saying, but I also think a lot of that likely has to do with PlayStation's crippled online infrastructure.
Yes, I mean they were obviously like, I mean I'm gonna say it. I would, when they had their like 2011 outage, I kind of cheered because I've always thought PSN was like a real piece of shit. And I was like, this is not, especially compared to Xbox Live. I was like,
this might be the kick in the ass to go and fix it.
Yes, and that's what they needed to fix it. And guess what they did? It's still not perfect. I mean, it took them till 2018 to implement name changes. You know what I mean? And then but I don't know, man. I just, in general, and this is a point that I did not make well enough last time, and I'm going to make it now. We keep doing this thing where we keep conflating preservation equals accessibility to games. We've got to stop doing that. Digital store going away has nothing to do with preservation. Just because you can't play something doesn't mean it's not being preserved. That's the thing I keep coming back to over these last 2 weeks since we talked last, which is driving me absolutely insane. That is just a fact. Preservation is not accessibility. We've got to stop it.
I want to build off this a little bit because I had the exact same feeling after last episode. I feel like there was a lot. I wish I really would have articulated a lot better, and I do think I'm looking at this from a different direction than either of you are. So feel free to tell me I'm stupid. But I thought a lot about this since last episode. So just a few points I want to run through. Number one, I don't think any of us have ever said that it's, good thing that the digital shops are going away for 3DS and Wii U. It's just that it's not Nintendo's obligation to upkeep those if they don't see the value in it. And I feel like I'm always going, publicly traded companies are required to generate value, etc. But that is a thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that needs to be taken into consideration when we're talking about this. So I guess a little bit different when you're talking about accessibility to these games. I do think that there is a conversation to be had regarding preservation as far as the people that are taking these games, backing them up and making them available in the future. I think there is value from a preservation standpoint there, just for retaining any kind of art form from a cultural standpoint, I guess. Mm-hmm. I think where we get things really conflated, and I did talk about this a little bit last time, there's a fine line between somebody taking those games, backing them up and making them available so that 5 years down the road, somebody who, finds out about a niche Wii U game that they would have really enjoyed can access that. I think it's good that people can access that. If somebody's doing research on something 10 years down the road to make a YouTube video, they have access to that. I think that's great. That's a very far cry from the moment that these shops go offline, beating your chest and being like, this is bullshit, Nintendo won't give me access to these games, and putting them all on a hard drive and putting them all on your Wii U and 3DS so that you can play all of them the minute that the store goes down, and justify it by saying, these games aren't available. And I think that there's just there's no specific line to walk on either side of that, but it's just I guess a nuanced take on where you ethically fall on it. I emulate games, absolutely. I've got a Raspberry Pi sitting upstairs. I don't think I've ever done it in such a way where I feel like it's been stealing or I'm detracting value from anything. And certainly not that I'm relying on those to play games. I pay for the N64 pack on the Switch eShop. I still buy a lot of retro games when they come out for sale. And I get a lot more enjoyment out of playing those games for the most part in those ways anyways. But I just think people need to evaluate whether you're using the removal of the availability of these games as a justification to steal them. You do have until May to add funds to your online store account. So if you really want that shit, then go pay for it now. I just think the intent is what really matters when it comes down to it.
Yes, I completely agree with that. Also, just as an addendum to what I said before, like, it's really, what really gets silly is that, like, we can't play I don't know, TurboGrafx CD game X or whatever on the it won't be available anymore. How do you think it got on there in the first place? Because someone fucking preserved it, and then it got on the Wii or Wii U eShop. Because someone preserved it. It's already done. So that's why, that's the part that drives me crazy, right? How do you think these virtual console games got there? Like, I get if we're talking about the original stuff like WiiWare, or like, obviously we can't play like the Rebirth series anymore or something like that, right? Where we can't buy them. I get that. I'm just talking about like, oh God, we'll never be able to play, Murasame, Mysterious Castle anymore. Yes, we fucking will. Maybe not right now. That's the silly part. I think that drives me insane.
I think that's where we feel different, because I do think it's good that years down the road, people can access that at the time they want to. I don't think necessarily that people are obligated to wait an indefinite amount of time until somebody decides to put that on sale. I just don't think that saying okay, it's not on sale anymore, so that's a reason to steal it is where that's valid.
I get what you're saying. I'm just saying that, like, when we're talking about the P word, preservation, it's like, don't be silly. They were that's how they got here in the first place. That's all.
I don't know. I also think for those people that do have the know-how and technology to take those games off of these digital storefronts and actually save that information, like, that can be justified as preservation. Going on to archive.org and downloading all of the shit after those people have done that work so you can have your own copy on your own hard drive, that is not preservation.
No.
Hey Kevin, you know what? You're not stupid.
That is the nicest thing anybody's ever said to
me. This time, just this once. We'll just wait till next show. I don't know. We have some unpopular gaming opinions coming up. You might retract that in about 10 minutes.
Everybody was very like nice and civil to each other during this discussion because we know the vitriol that's coming.
All right, I think I finally got it out of my system. Steve,
we're not going to need to revisit this in
I mean, we might. Episode. If they piss us off again, we're going to have to. But Steve got all his stuff out of his...
Look, I have my collection. I like it, but I know it's for me. It's for me. I'm not preserving shit. I'm preserving shit so someone else can come by and be like, "Hey, you got all the Shantae on Switch cards," and I could be like, "Sure, you go nuts."
You mean limited run, which has limited right in the title? Isn't like count as preservation?
It's for me. I know it's for me.
Oh boy!
But hey, we got to give him some credit for putting out Night Trap and Double Switch back out for the masses
that I bought for $3 on the eShop each. Okay. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I wanted to do it last time but we didn't have time, so I'm going to do it now. I really like an account that is no longer with us. Rest in peace. Rest in power. They were called JAV Titles, or JAV.text. JAV, if you don't know, Japanese adult video. They would just tweet the names of the porn titles, and they were often very ridiculous. Delightfully ridiculous. It was my favorite bot account on Twitter. It got suspended like a month ago. We don't know what happened. Probably just because it said, wiener one too many times. Maybe not wiener, but whatever. It's just like, it's very sad, and we want to pay tribute to it now by playing real or fake JV titles.
Can we do this as a competition? I want to keep score and see how
you
how
can
I
keep
stack
score
up
if you
against
want.
Steve.
Sure, yeah, you guys keep score if you feel like it. But I'm just gonna read them off, and you guys can guess real or fake, and you can do with that information what you will, everybody. Okay, I'm already laughing. I haven't even read one yet. Okay, here's the first one. Incest Festival. I caught my stepbrother jacking off, and his rock-hard 21-centimeter cock surprised me. Can nerds like you really be this hung? Nerd cock filler plan. Real or fake?
Oh, man. I went through a lot of emotions there because at one point I was like, okay, this is too long to be real. There's no way this is made up. But then it got so fucking long, I was like, okay, this might actually be real. He wouldn't make
this
up
one's
something
fake.
that long.
I
think it's
fake?
real.
Okay. You think it's real, Kevin?
Yeah.
Okay. This one is fake. Steve got it right. All right. Okay, here comes another. It's this aging taxi driver's lucky day. Sorry, but I don't have enough money.
This one's real.
I love that he's aging. This is no average taxi driver, and he's not like super old, but he's just like
he's probably in his 50s, like
this isn't a pity fuck, but pity is an element. I'm gonna say it's real as well.
Okay, both of you say it's real. This one is also fake.
Oh, that was a sneaky one.
Yeah, see, I've read too many of these over time. I got too good at it. Okay.
And you were trying to lowball me online by saying, you might be too good at this.
I don't know. You never know, right? Like in a 50-50 coin flip game, you hit upon a bunch, right? Okay, next one. My aunt's pussy feels amazing, part 2. My step-aunt has the finest hole around.
Still fake.
That one's real.
That one is real. Kevin got it.
Good.
All right. Sounds like we're tied.
I only know because I've seen that one. I kid.
Did you get that one from Limited Run?
I've got that bad boy on Laserdisc.
Oh shit! Laserdisc porn must have been amazing because you only have like 30 minutes. You gotta get up and like dick in hand, flip that thing over. And,
gotta head flip it just when it's getting good.
Yeah, it's like, come on! Oh man, I gotta get up and flip it. Fine.
There is no hiding that in the closet.
Okay, next one. Hey, could you be a guy who gets off from nipple play?
Real.
Real or fake?
I think that's real too.
You think that's real?
Yeah.
Okay, that one is real. That was absolutely real. Okay, next one. We took that drug everyone is talking about and it made our dicks huge. We were forced to ejaculate repeatedly.
Real.
Fake.
I think Kevin likes that one.
Who is doing the forcing?
I mean, we don't know. Could be anybody. Could have been themselves, I guess.
I say fake.
Fake? That one is real.
Oh, man. Steve knows his Japanese porn so much better than I do.
Look, there's just... no, never mind. Let's keep going.
Okay. The new whore in the cardboard house. Real or fake?
Fake.
Why?
The new whore in the cardboard house, Kevin.
Why? Yeah, fake.
That's fake. That one is real.
What?
It's real.
I feel like it's either really good or really bad.
Okay, let's do a couple more here. Just a couple more. Okay. Let me gather myself here. Expensive hypnotism class. The sluts at this bar can't say no.
Real.
Real or fake?
Yeah, real.
Real? That is fake. I made that shit up.
Getting tougher.
Yeah.
If Fine Time doesn't work out, you've got a career in Japan ahead of us.
Yeah, man. I guess I'm doing pretty good here. Okay, we'll do one more. Forced G-spot development. A shameful lover's contract. My body may be someone else's property, but I'll never sell my heart. Real or fake?
Real.
Oh. I'm also gonna go real.
That is real. That was okay. That's it. I can't handle anymore.
How'd we do, Kevin?
Well, there was a lot of laughing, and I don't know how accurate I actually kept the score. I think you got 5 and I got 4.
I feel like that was in my mind. That feels correct as well. You guys were kind of opposite most of the time. You said real and fake. You were, but
there is no clear-cut answer on any of those.
I feel like when you translate things literally, which was something I noticed a lot, and when Viz sent me anime catalogs in the late 1999, you ended up with titles similar to that, where shoot, bang, bang, time to go to space. You'll learn to. You learn how that sort of thing like just happens, and you pick up on that rhythm of how all that goes. I don't know how to explain why I would guess these ways.
That's okay.
I think if any listeners want this to be a regular segment, you should let us know, because I definitely want this to be a regular segment.
Okay, it's time again, everybody. We're going to be unpopular. We got some unpopular gaming opinions, or at least me and Kevin do. Steve is just going to sit there and shake his head.
I got an opinion. Video games are supposed to be fun, you guys.
I mean, sometimes they are.
There, that's my opinion.
This is bullshit, because I didn't even envision this as an unpopular gaming opinion. I was shoehorned into unpopular gaming opinions because I think it is a popular gaming opinion, and I think it's completely valid. And I think it's just these two fucking yahoos that like I'm unpopular in a group of 3. So, anyways, just a little bit of backstory. The way this all came out is I don't know, maybe mid last week. Andre decided to tweet out his order of Mario Kart's best to worst. And there was some problems with it, and some other people got involved, and some things were said about Double Dash that didn't need to be said, and I'm sure nobody meant them. So we'll just move on. Anyways, Mario Kart Wii was on there. I did a list, and then I got some shit for putting Mario Kart Wii. I think I had it dead last.
You did.
And I started trying to justify it, but then I said, to be honest, I haven't played Mario Kart Wii for probably 10 years, actually like sat down and gave it, more attention than 1 or 2 races at a time. So I said, rather than backing up this opinion, I'm going to go back and I'm going to play through all 4 of the cups with original courses off Mario Kart Wii. And be honest with myself, and I'll fess up if I decide that it's better than I think it is. Now, I'm not going to say this is a bad game at all. I don't think any of the Mario Kart games are bad. This is a good game. I do think that it deserves a lower end spot on the best to worst list, and explicitly falls behind Double Dash, because this is where everybody started butting heads. And I think Double Dash is a far better game. So I'm going to get into just a few of the reasons that I think I can actually justify this with. First of all, Andre was saying that to him, the courses in Mario Kart Wii are a lot better than in Double Dash, which I think is complete bullshit. Now, the courses are fine. I don't think that these are like bad courses. I think they're less inspired than Double Dash. At times, maybe they're a little bit flashier. But I think mechanically they're definitely less interesting. And for the most part, all of the mechanics from the new courses are borrowed from Double Dash, like blasting up a mountain through, the exploding barrel or pipe or whatever, escalator ramps that are moving up or down. You get to the end of the race and there's like different blocks or things to stop you moving in alternating directions. Mario Kart Wii invented bouncing on a fucking mushroom. Like, good job. Thank you. It does have some standout courses. Wario's Gold Mine is really good. Maple Treeway was really good. Grumble Volcano are the standouts. But I just want to take everybody back to Double Dash for a minute. Daisy Cruiser, DK Mountain, Dino Jungle, Peach Beach, Wario Coliseum, Baby Park, which is excellent, and the best Bowser's Castle that the franchise has ever seen, plus Waluigi Stadium, which is my personal favorite Mario Kart track of all time. So, course-wise...
Kevin. I like Double Dash a lot, but Baby Park's a fucking oval.
Oh,
I love
no.
Baby Park. I'm going to admit that too. I love Baby Park.
I like Baby Park, but it's a fucking oval.
No, it's great.
Baby Park, I know, but that's the thing. It's so small and it's intense, and they had the forethought to make it 7 laps rather than 3, which is really important.
Yes.
I don't know. Everybody has fun when you play Baby Park. It's always like super intense. It's a crapshoot. Yeah, it's an oval, but it was a ballsy decision to put a small oval into a Mario Kart game, and I commend them for doing it.
I do too. I love Baby Park. I will say that about Double Dash. And I really like Double Dash.
Yes.
And you know what, though? As you said that, I can't be mad at that. That's actually a really good, reasonable opinion.
I've got a little bit more to say on this, because as well, here is a problem with Mario Kart Wii. It's kind of bullshitty. And it seems like everybody drives in a very tight pack. Like, places 2 through 10 are driving all immediately next to each other. Like, I feel regardless of where you are, if you get hit with, a fucking red shell, like, guess what, bitch? You're going to last place no matter what, because everybody drives by you in a very tightly knit group. I fully understand that kind of the rubber banding is to be expected for any Mario Kart game, but I think here it's far worse than any other Mario Kart game. And you know what else? The bikes fucking suck. So
yes, I've never been a bike person.
Overall, again, I don't want this to come off like I'm shitting on the game, because you know what? As long as you're not playing it with motion controls, it is an overall good game. I do feel like they were resting on the success of the Wii, and they didn't feel like they needed to go the extra mile like they did with Double Dash. I feel the same way about Mario Kart DS.
So here's my thing, and here's what and I've said this on Twitter too. I value course ingenuity and like theme and stuff like that. That's my tip top, even more than the racing, even more than like everything. That's the thing that matters the most to me in Mario Kart. And for me, it's just better in Wii than it is Double Dash. Now, obviously, that's just completely subjective. It's like music. You know what I mean? You like some music more than others.
It is.
But like,
I want you to like just try to substantiate that, though, because looking at it through that lens, I feel like Double Dash presents a much stronger face.
I don't know. It's hard to like... What? Like, I mean, where do I start? Like, what?
Okay, let's do mechanics. What does Mario Kart Wii have mechanic wise, other that Double Dash didn't either invent or bring forward from previous entries?
None. Absolutely none.
Bicycles.
Yeah, bicycles, basically.
And
No,
bouncy
you're
mushrooms.
correct in that sense. You are losing something from Double Dash, but I think it's worth it because I think the courses are so good that to me it more than makes up for it.
Is it aesthetically good? Because I think maybe you could come up with an argument if you're talking only aesthetically better than Double Dash. I still would definitely give my vote to Double Dash, but maybe that would be acceptable.
Not just aesthetically. I think also just course and track design. Not just like Maple Treeway is like a cool aesthetic. I think it's also just a great course. I think that's way better than like Dino Jungle or like, yeah, I don't know. Like I just, you know what I mean? Like
You're
there's
an
just
asshole.
there's just some courses in Double Dash where I'm just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. That's how I feel. What can I say? What can I mean, there's nothing else I can say because you're already making that face at me like I'm fucking...
Well, I also know the conversation we're about to go into, so I'm pretty like predisposed towards being pissy with you already.
Well, before we get into that, I'm just going to say, much like the great AI racers in Mario Kart Wii, I kind of rank most of the Mario Karts in a tightly knit group. So if I was going to chime in on this contest and make my own ranking thing, it would really be which one I like the least, as opposed to I hate the game that's on the bottom. Unlike Andre, who right after making his list was like, I fucking hate Mario Kart 7 and here is why.
No, I don't. I do not.
All right, but Steve, you still maintain that Wii takes a higher slot than Double Dash.
See, he can be more swayed. I think I'm pretty set here.
He was on the like Wii over Double Dash train.
I mean, I like the courses in Double Dash, but then we moved a lot of them forward, except for the ones except for certain ones. So it's I don't go backwards too much these days.
You know what? So, the drifting in Double Dash feels a lot better than the drifting in Mario Kart Wii.
Yes, it does. I absolutely believe that. They did a really good job of making the two people in the cart have a good weight to it, so it feels great to play. I've always said that Double Dash is better mechanically and racing-wise than Wii. It's just that the courses in Wii take me so over the top for it that I just, I think it's not a great trade-off, but I think it's worthy. I mean, obviously, I still, like I said, Mario Kart 64 is the only one I won't go back to because of what you said. You were talking about Rubber Band AI. It's so fucking bad in 64. They're just right up your ass.
See, I honestly think the Rubber Band in Wii is worse than 64, hands down.
Really?
I really do. Yeah. When I ran through those 4 cups on 150cc, like it just seemed outrageous. Like on Double Dash, if I lose, maybe sometimes I'll be like, okay, that was kind of shitty. The blue shell came at the wrong time. For the most part, I'll accept it as my fault. When I had numerous issues on Wii where I just felt like it was bullshit.
Okay. Like I said, I have not played Mario Kart Wii since it was out, so like maybe I'd feel differently if I played again. I would like to, but a lot of those courses are around nowadays.
To put one more chip in, I guess I will say that with these courses coming out, there's a few more GameCube courses I'm hoping for more than Wii courses.
Such as?
Mushroom Bridge, Mushroom City, Bowser's Castle.
Yeah, I do. Bowser's Castle Wii, has that ever made it out anywhere? Because I think that is an excellent one. Like, I think that's probably even better than... Well, hardly anything is better than 8, but you know what I mean? I have a soft spot for that one in particular.
God, when on Double Dash, when you can like do the power slide right in front of the Bowser's, like the statue that's shooting the fireballs at you, and like perfectly make that spin into it right before the finish line, nothing feels better.
Is it Mario Kart 8 that has the Bowser's Castle with the statue lasers from Mario 3, like the Bowser's Castle that you start? Yeah, love that shit. Anyway. Okay, time to make everyone mad.
All
okay,
right, agree to disagree.
Here's my unpopular opinion. I've always felt this way. I think the original DS is better than the DS Lite. I truly, absolutely believe that. And I always have. And everyone's just looking at me like I don't even know why I did a show with you in the first place. But I promise I feel this way. So here's why. a lot of it comes down to form factor for me. So like the size of it is great. I feel like the original DS, it has that, when it's closed and it has that sort of trapezoidal, slightly sort of top, you know what I mean? It's not like curved, but it kind of comes up to a point there slightly. I really like that, and that feels good when it's closed and you have it in your hand. I mean, obviously it's not the way you play it, but it has a nice form factor and size to it where I don't think the DS Lite has. The DS Lite is its inspiration is obviously the Game Boy Advance SP, a system I hate. So like that's not a good starting point for me to be that. Now it's not
what is the inspiration for the DS Lite that's coming from the SP?
That sort of boxy, because like, okay, you know how like the DS or the GBA SP is like sort of that square that I fucking don't like at all. It just feels bad in your hand. Okay, for me anyway.
we're going after squares now?
Yes, we're going after squares. I feel like it's rounded on the DS Lite, but it's a rectangle, but it still has that like boxiness that I don't like. That's why, like, okay, I usually play Switch undocked in like kickstand, using the kickstand, but if I have to hold it, it's fine. The Joy-Cons are curved or whatever. The 3DS isn't the most comfortable thing either because of that. I preferred the more, it's not ergonomic, but you know what I mean. It feels like it fits my hands better, the original DS. And this is something I've maintained forever. The D-pad on the original DS is the best D-pad Nintendo has ever made. I've said that since 2004. I absolutely believe it now. That is absolutely the case for me. Obviously, these things are subjective, but for me, for my money, that was the absolute best D-pad. And the buttons had this, like, they were kind of flat like PSP, but they had this sort of satisfying, like, clickiness to them. And they were very, like, I don't know if the word is tactile. They just felt good. It's not that the DS Lite buttons were bad or they felt mushy or anything, but it just didn't have that like flat sort of, how like the X and Y on like the SNES had that sort of concave. Now, like obviously the DS didn't have that, but it just had that satisfying, you get your thumb there and it feels good. Whereas like the DS Lite ones are a little more bubbly and whatever. The triggers though, oh my God. You want to talk about clicky and satisfying? The original DS has that. That's the only thing about the DS Lite that would actually call a piece of crap, are the triggers. I hate them. I've wore them out. I wore the R button out playing like Bangai-O Spirits or something. Like after a while, it would just they died. I'm not the only one either. Vin's had his triggers die. Like Steve always says, the Nintendium like does not pass on to the 3DS. I think it was a DS Lite. That's where that shit started to falter for me.
I skipped the DS Lite, and I treated myself to a DSi in 2009, and a lot of things that you're talking about here, I felt carried on in a way. The buttons and even the shoulders felt better than they did on the DS Lite. I would play my sisters sometimes when I needed to help her out with something, and the DS Lite didn't feel right all the time. The DSi did, and that thing was built like a tank.
Yeah, I never held a DSi just because how I feel about Nintendo half measures. So I didn't even, obviously I wasn't going to bother. And by that time I was fucking pissed at them anyway. But also, and to top this off, I think the positives that the DS Lite have are overrated. This is
where the problem is.
Okay. Everyone talks about the screen brightness, right?
It's not even just the brightness though. It's an infinitely more clear screen. The original DS looks muddy in comparison. Absolutely.
Exactly. In comparison. If you put them together, yes, it's going to look that way. Nobody, when the original DS came out, ever said, oh man, this screen looks so dark and muddy. No, anyone only ever said that after the DS Lite in comparison. That's the only reason why we say that. If that didn't happen, then we wouldn't be saying that. Nobody said, oh man, I wish. Yes, there's always room to improve on a screen, obviously.
The whole point of this discussion is as a comparison, though.
Okay,
you can't take and be like, well, in 2004, though, it wasn't a problem because we didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, okay, fair, but I'm just saying it wasn't a problem. Like when DS Lite was coming out, it wasn't just like, nobody was saying, oh man, those screens are just so bad, we really need to, like, that just wasn't the thing. That's all I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? I'm not saying they were perfect or they weren't, you know what I mean, in need of improvement. Of course they were. But, like, I never looked at anyone else's DS Lite and then looked back at my own original DS and it's like, man, this looks like shit. Yeah, it doesn't look as good. Of course it doesn't. But I don't know. I didn't think it was that big a deal. Maybe, I guess other people do, because the DS Lite was like the shit. It's almost
surprising, because you're like the frame rate guy, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like the nuances of the visuals are like your thing out of this group.
Yeah.
So to take this stance is just like, okay, is there any, because everybody knows you're very like, okay, the first revision is always the best, always. Is there like any factor at play that you don't want to let that go because you felt that way for so long, even though you should have let that go a Game Boy Advance? Like, absolutely. Even though the form factor is much, much better on the original. Anyways,
I mean, look, maybe. I mean, it's hard to say, right? But, like, you could be onto something. I'm not totally denying that. I really do feel that way, though, especially about the D-pad, buttons, and form factor of the original DS. Untouchable. That is unshakable for me.
I just feel like you're taking like things when all of those things, and I feel like it is very much opinion. But even if you do have the opinion that all of those things are better, like, the screen so far outweighs those things regardless. Like, I just feel like you there must be times when, like, you're getting a blowjob and you're just like, oh, I think I got a rock in my shoe. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
okay, first of all, yes, that is me. Secondly, look, man, I'm just telling you how I feel. What can I say? Like, I really do feel that way about the original form factor and D-pad and buttons. I do. I really do.
I just have to say, for the record, and there's been a lot of takes that have been disagreed upon, such as saying you don't like Mario RPG or Ocarina of Time. You've had a lot of takes that, personally, no offense, I would classify as bad takes. This one is to me the most unreasonable. This one is the most, if you can take an opinion and make it objectionably wrong, this is the most objectionably wrong opinion that you have.
Okay. I will accept that. I know nobody agrees. That's why I brought it up. Nobody ever agrees with me on this, and that's fine.
No, you know what? I will chime in and say that if they did what they did with the GBASP and made a brighter screen at the end, like they took the micro and, like, you know, the GBASP 101 or whatever that is, where the screen's is just that much brighter, and they did that with the DS Fat, I might have gone for one of those instead of a DSi, but that's not the direction they went.
No, they did not. I will say the battery life obviously is better on DS Lite. That can't be disputed. It was kind of not great on the original. You can maybe get like a good 6 hours ish. You know what I mean? The Lite was better. It was more like 8 to 10. So that was good, especially when you're playing, you know, a Dragon Quest or something you kind of want to, like, get deep into, or a long car trip or something, which was the case a few times. Like,
Don't try and throw me these breadcrumbs to repair our relationship. It's not happening.
Look, man, I'm just telling you. That's how I feel about the original DS. And by the way, I guess I should say this whole thing. To cap this off, the only reason why I got a DS Lite is because I fucking lost my original. I don't know what happened to it. I lost it like 3 days after Mega Man ZX came out. I was playing that game. I don't know where I left it. Lost it. 6 months later, I had to get not only a DS Lite, but then a new Mega Man ZX, and then a new Mega Man 04, which was in my GBA slot at the time. So
maybe it was fate trying to teach you a lesson.
I guess, like, they knew I was going to have these bad takes about it 15 years later. So yeah,
if we would have come to this discussion and you said that you never owned a DS Lite, I would have torn into you like way worse, though, to be honest. Because that was like my question. I was ready to say, did you even have a fucking DS Lite, or did you like play somebody's one time for 5 minutes and were like, My DS is better.
No, I had the DS Lite.
Okay.
Didn't you have to borrow someone's DS to play Dragon Quest VI?
I did.
Or am I imagining this story?
No, I did, because after my shitty-ass triggers on my shitty-ass DS Lite, like, went away, I couldn't rotate the camera anymore in Dragon Quest. Because you know how those games were, because it was, like, sort of 2.5D-ish, you needed to rotate. I couldn't do it. So I borrowed, like, by the time, like, Dragon Quest VI rolled around, I borrowed, like, my friend's girlfriend's pink-ass DS Lite so I could play it. So...
And we'll save him. I chime in about how much the 3DS screwed me over the years, but that's not really an unpopular opinion. I'm finding that opinion to be very popular these days.
Yes, that's a very popular opinion. All right, so Kevin's just looking at me like, you son of a bitch. I can't even. So I think we should just end this here.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Okay. All right, guys.
I had fun. What do you say we do this again in 2 weeks?
Okay, sure. Absolutely. Hey, next week, we're going to have an all-Canadian nice little chitty chat, Kevin, right? Ooh. Tell us a little bit about it.
I don't know why you guys let me take the reins.
Come on.
Dumb. Yeah, me and my good friend Stockton at Bimmy Sucks on Twitter. We for probably the first third of the podcast, we really struggled to remember any detail whatsoever about edutainment PC games. Then we kind of move into early mid 2000s PC gaming up to modern PC gaming. So it's all PC stuff.
Yes, I listened to it, previewed. It's very good stuff, so check that out next week. But as for now, we're going to get out of here. Go to Fine Time Podcast on Twitter. Go there. You can follow the rest of us, me, Steve, and Kevin on Twitter. Our names are in the bio. If you go to Fine Time Podcast on Twitter, that's about it for now. See you next time, guys. Bye.